Hello everyone, and welcome back to Introducing the Wolves. We've been gone for a while, but we're excited to be back, especially as we're edging ever closer to a return to play. My name's Ben Royal, and today I'm joined by Rob Clayton and Chris Hallam, both of whom play a significant role in the AF Switchgear Nottingham Huskies. This episode is part 2 of our Huskies special, so if you'd like to watch part 1 with Steve Ward and Jonny Bell, then just head to our channel. Most of you will know of Rob's role in both the Wolves and Ball Hockey UK, so there's not much need for an introduction there. But Chris, could you provide a bit of insight into your background in hockey and subsequently the Huskies before we get started?
Well, basically been an ice hockey fan since '89. So been going ever since then. Season ticket holder every year. So that's where my start in hockey came from. Ball hockey wise, only really been involved in ball hockey for probably the past, I think it's 4 or 5 years. Most of which time, as you know, I've spent injured because I'm injury prone like that. So although I've been around for a few years, playing wise, it hasn't been too much. Been involved with the Huskies for, I think it'll be about 3 years now. Yes. Kay decided he wanted to play, having seen me attempt to play. Asked if there was somewhere to play, so I found the Huskies, and then sort of was bringing Kay down to there, and then me and Rob got talking at the training, and he just asked me to get on board, and never looked back since.
That's brilliant. Obviously, focusing on recruitment today, how big are the Huskies now in terms of players, Rob?
We always hover really between about 40 and 50 players. I think the exact number registered players before the current break, I think it's 44 players, which sounds a lot, but actually, there's 4 age categories that we play under in Ball Hockey UK: under 16, under 13, under 10, and under 7. So actually, those players spread across that is not loads, and we might go on to it later, but for example, we're quite light on under 7s at the moment. I think Jonny mentioned that. So yeah, we're always at the moment between that 40 and 50 mark.
How important is recruitment for the juniors, and does it differ from the seniors that much?
Well, I mean, I'll speak a little bit about seniors first of all. I mean, I think recruitment's always important. I think it's always important to be recruiting when you're running a team of any kind, because I think you can't really wait to be in a position where you're struggling to then recruit, because then you're trying to recruit something that is struggling. If somebody comes along to a session, whether it be adults or kids, and it's vibrant, and then it's like you go along to an adult session and then there's at least a 4 or 5-a-side game going, people come along and think this is a proper thing, you know what I mean? Whereas if it's already a little bit struggling and you turn up and there's not really anybody there, and maybe there's one goalie, it's kind of like, is this a real thing? So I think it's always really important. But I think I'll let Chris say something in a minute. But I think at juniors, because of the nature of it, there's different age categories, and also it's a constantly moving picture with people moving up and then into seniors. I think it's even more important. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. The with the seniors side of things, with the players will come into the team, and then they'll stay, and they can stay until basically they either don't want to play anymore or they can't play anymore. Whereas with the juniors, they're moving up and up and up, and eventually they have to move out of the junior setup. So obviously, recruitment wise, you've got to have that continual loop of players coming in. Otherwise, you've not got a team.
I think that's exactly right. I think you've got a chance at seniors, although I don't think this ever actually works exactly like this in practice. But you could recruit, you could start a team, recruit 15 to 20 people. If you're a close bunch of mates, you could perhaps keep that core together, and you could perhaps have that. In theory, you could have that core together for like 15, 20 years. With only a small amount of recruitment required. Now, I think the likelihood is that the real life starts to kick in, doesn't it? And somebody's job, they have to move away with a job, or they go to university, or they get a serious boyfriend or girlfriend and they stop turning up, or they start working shifts or something. So in reality, I think you probably always need to recruit. But Chris is right. As seniors, you're in with a chance of recruiting something that can stay settled for a number of years, whereas juniors, it's like a constantly moving jigsaw puzzle, and every year somebody nicks a few bits.
With that in mind, when do you most look to recruit players? Sort of what age group or time of year, etc.?
I think you really want to be looking at recruiting as young as possible. We've obviously got the under sevens, so we've got the places there for them to play. So at the end of the day, if you start them as young as you can, and then you've also got them then moving up through each of the age groups. So you've got that constant feed into each of the age groups. So hopefully, if everything works fine, you don't get sort of one age group where you've got a lack of numbers, because if you've got a good basis at the under sevens and you can keep hold of them and they're going to keep coming, then they will feed through to each year. So if you can get them in there at the first stages, then there's a good chance that you can keep them through all of those year groups and work from there. With regards to a time for recruiting, there's not really a better time to recruit. It's just a constant sort of thing to bring people through. We've had a lot of people start partway through the seasons. Sometimes it might be a bit easier to recruit people when the season's going, because they can actually see games, whereas out of season it's just more of a training thing. And coming to training, everybody knows training sometimes, it's not the same as playing games. You've got to have those games to look forward to. So if you recruit somebody at the beginning of the off season, you've got quite a few months there before realistically you get any competitive games. And it puts a different spin on it when you've got that competitive game to play and to look forward to. So I think that's that's a big draw to it. But there's never really a bad time to recruit. You can you've got to look to recruit whenever you can.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Chris is right. I think you could sort of look at how your season is structured and think maybe the best time to recruit is off season, but I don't think that's, as Chris said, I think there's lots of good reasons to try and get people in. And you know what, we're naturally more active on social media during the league season. The season, because we just got more to say. There's more to talk about. There's games and tournaments, whereas the summer months we just find that a little bit more difficult. And I think Chris is dead right as well about if you can recruit, say, 15 players under sevens every year, before you know it, and you've got a reasonably good retention rate, before you know it, your numbers just go through the roof. Like, we're happy to recruit players at any age. People can pick the game up at any age. But I think if you get people in at under seven, they've got so much in front of them then. They've got so much opportunity to learn the game and for it to become second nature to them, and then end up playing at quite a high level. And if we can recruit people under seven, you've potentially got them in the junior club for such a long time, 10, 11 years. And then hopefully into the seniors, hopefully you're starting a journey for them that could potentially be 30 years plus, being with the club. So I think sevens needs to be a particular target for us.
I think people like Ryan, Cam, and then Hayden is obviously progressed into the seniors now. They're perfect examples of that.
Look at Ryan Cam, started training with us when he was 4, I think. He had a better slap shot than you, Ben, when he was 5. He's certainly a better finisher.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. And Ryan is a talented sports person. He's a multi-sport. I think what they call a multi-sport athlete these days. He is a talented kid. And he took to it very quickly. But I think it's a great age to recruit at any point, to be honest. And I think, as I say, it just means that we've got them for longer, and the learning time starts much earlier.
So, what do you see as the main barriers to recruitment?
I mean, I think one of the good things about the sport, I'm going to talk about a good thing first of all. I think it sells itself quite well. You know, I think people instantly quite like it when they see it. I think one of the barriers is that it's just not that well known a sport. You know, it's, you know, we're getting there, but it's not that well known. So I think, you know, it's not everywhere, is it? You know, we're the only club in Nottingham, so I think that it's not on every street corner at the moment, you know, whereas, you know, something like football, there's always a kid bouncing the ball, kicking the ball around, you know. So I think there's that to it.
Yeah. I think one thing is as well that we're fighting against the more established sports. As you mentioned, football and rugby and things like that. It's you no matter where you live, there's a local football team for your kid to go to. Whereas, as you've said, Rob, we're the only team in Nottingham, so it's, you know, it's not that easy if you're a bit further afield.
You can't do when we train, you know. I think that's,
yeah,
I think there's an issue, and I think generally speaking, you know, these days, I mean, as the oldest person on this call, I'll say that when I was a kid, it was, you know, football dominated even more, I would say, than it does these days. But there's so much choice these days. There's so many sports to choose from. And then, you know, there's not only that, you know, we all know that sort of gaming is a massive pool these days, you know, and I think maybe kids aren't generally speaking as active as they were in my youth. So you're competing against that as well. So
yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of pulls in different directions, but I do think, you know, we have a fairly good record. Once we've got people in through the door, I think we've got a pretty good record of keeping them in the club. That makes it sound like we lock the door behind them, doesn't it? I don't mean that at all, but, you know, I do think, you know, the game is, you know, it's not that expensive to play. It's not as expensive as ice, for example. So there's a bit more cost than just getting a football and a pair of shin pads and some boots. There's a little bit more, but I think it does sell itself. But I think it's just that there are more distractions, and it's not a household name of a sport just yet.
I think along with the cost as well, is worth mentioning that a lot of the time we're able to offer equipment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The people come down to try and stuff. So like if someone's watching this and they want to bring their kid down, that doesn't have to be a barrier at first.
No, they can just turn up in, you know, normal sportswear, and we can sort out the rest to begin with.
Yeah, we've got a good stock of gear, so there's never there's not going to be a shortage. So yeah, so try before you buy, sort of thing, and see how you go on.
So what happens if recruitment does stop or slow down? Obviously, it's slowed down massively in the last year. So you could talk a bit about.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was an interesting one for us with like going into COVID. You know, it cut our season short. And once we knew that the season was over, which we had to wait a little bit of time for, we did. It was a year, because you don't have like a same amount of kids in each birth year in your club. It was a year where we were losing 12 kids out of our under 16, so quite a big amount of people. But you know, when we got back to play during the summer, first of all outdoors and then indoors, we had some good recruitment. We actually brought people in. I think people are ready to try something new, and we got a few additions just before the first lockdown. But I think if recruitment stalls, I think, as we were saying earlier, because it's so much more vital in juniors than it is in seniors, your club can just die off before you know it, really. You know, if you lose 12 kids in a year, you know, double that, treble that before you know it, you know, you're in trouble, you know, particularly if you've only got sort of 30 to 40 to 50 players to start off with. You know, you can see quite quickly how long it'll take before, if you know the figures in your club of how old everybody is, you can work out how long it'll take you to become extinct. So that's the real cost. You know, then things become, but before that, you know, things become financially unviable. You can't quite get enough players together in a particular age group. So if you're not then playing games, that's like counterproductive. That means you might lose more players. So I think it's a real lifeblood situation. You know, it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but if you don't carry on recruiting, it can be the end of your junior club, I think.
With that in mind, what are the recruitment plans going forward?
As a club in general, we are generally speaking quite ambitious. We've added, went from 2 teams to 3 league teams to 4 to 5. With the academy, there's the rink hopefully on the horizon, and with the Huskies, we're no different really. And I think we're ambitious and we want to grow it. And this may sound like, going from what we've got 40 to 50, the total I'm about to mention is, may sound a bit crazy. And people in the club, in the junior club, might think that's a lot. But personally, I think, over the next 5 years, I'd like to see us get the numbers up to sort of over 150, to be honest. I think that's doable. I think, the level of month on month or year on year recruitment that you'd need for that, I think is doable. But it does mean that you've got to keep at it a little bit. So, from a target point of view, that's where I'd like to see us go, to be honest. And that sounds, it's an over a 3-fold increase, but I think over a 5-year period, that's doable. And of course, obviously, you need to have the ideas to back that up to take that forward, which, we've got. Which
with those numbers would potentially give us at least 3 teams at each age group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which obviously is good for the kids, as you'll end up with more teams so that you can sort of have a few less players in each team, so players are getting more time.
Yeah.
The last thing that you want is to have a high number of players on one team, and then it's when you're playing 10-minute games, it doesn't give you a lot of time to get everybody on and everything. So
I think that's right, Chris. And I think you get up to those sorts of numbers, and as Chris mentioned on the last question, then you have a down year, you're not too worried about it, And I think also, it gives us the opportunity, within each age category, say under 13s, if you're having 3 teams, it just gives you so much scope in terms of placing a player where you think they're best suited, So, you perhaps you find exactly the right person to partner them with on D, or you place them with a particular coach, or if we're going to the nationals, we don't just send 1 team per age group, we can send a few more, It gives us more players playing up as well. We've got a good record of that, players playing up and getting experience at the higher age group. We would still do that, and I think it just gives you more scope to do it, I think.
What sort of approach would you look to take to recruitment in terms of, you've spoken about it before, like the school trips that you've done?
I mean, just to finish off what we're saying, Ben, sorry, on the previous question, I think there might be people who think, 150 people, Rob, how on earth would we accommodate that? And obviously within our current sort of setup, and then that would be difficult to do, but I'd rather have we've always solved this. We've got a good record of solving this. If we've got more kids and we need more sessions, we'll find the space and we'll find the time. That's an amazingly good problem to have. So I wouldn't be worried by that. But if anybody's thinking to themselves, 150 kids won't fit in that hall on a Sunday morning, we'd work it out. But anyway, sorry, Ben, your original question.
No, it's all right. What sort of approach would you take in terms of getting out into the community to try and attract people in? Because we've spoken about it before, like me and Finn both came through the schools program, and you've not been able to get rid of us since. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it didn't work out that well, did it? I think there's lots of things that we can do. I think me and Chris have thought about this and we put a document together. There's some recruitment just doesn't happen via one method. There's all different ways of doing it. Some of it's quite low tech. Word of mouth works massively well for us, but that's not something you can really do. Aside from trying to be a really good club, there's not much more you can do on that front. We think there's kind of some really easy things that we should be doing all the time, some things that are a bit more difficult that we can be doing a lot of the time, and then things like the schools program, or going out to like summer fates, that kind of thing that we should be doing, not all of the time, but on a fairly programmed basis. And I think that's something we really want to get back going, not just as we did with you guys going to senior schools. If we're going to be serious about pulling kids in at that under 7 level, primary schools as well, you know, and I think that's something, once COVID gets out of the way, we'd really like to ramp up again.
So Rob, you mentioned working with primary schools there. Do you want to talk about a bit of the work or the partnership that we've built with Matt Bradbury?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a really positive thing for us. I've known Matt via other friends for quite a long time, you know, and he's worked for the arena for many years, and now he's gone alone, and he's going out and coaching in schools, you know, which is introducing the sport of ball hockey to young players, which is brilliant and something that we've done previously and like to do again. With Matt's program, it's a certain amount of weeks, and then, you know, he goes and does that then somewhere else. What we're doing with Matt is that we're trying to make sure that the kids don't just get a sample of the sport. They know that there's somewhere that they can go to. And, you know, we've set up something, for example, where the best player over the period will get a voucher to come and have a certain amount of weeks free with us. But, you know, we would look to do that. We'd look to do a free week anyway for any of them. But it's just it's an open door for us. And I think for us not to capitalise on it would be a bit of a crime, to be honest. If there's kids who are spending 6 PE lessons with a hockey stick in their hand, then we want them to know about the Nottingham Huskies, you know, at the end of it, so that if they think, I really like this, they know there's a club that they can go to.
Yeah, and I will attach the link to Matt Bradbury's Facebook page in the description of the video. So if anyone wants to learn, even if you're a teacher at a primary school, if you want to learn a bit more about it, you can go and speak to Matt.
And I think a lot of this is about resources as well, Ben. You know, we're all volunteers, and we all do put a lot of work into it because we enjoy it. I think, you know, to run the schools program will require even more effort. And I think the end game really is that you'd want kids. We don't just want them to have a bit of a sample of it. We want them to be playing it regularly, you know. And I think, you know, maybe somewhere down the line we can get some schools that are local to one another who are playing it regularly enough that they can play against each other.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a bit more self-sustaining. But I think there's lots of things as well as the schools program we can be doing as well. You know, we're going to be a bit more regular with the information we provide, you know, in terms of social media. You know, we can try and use the Panthers as a bit of an outlet. We want to try and get a promotional video put together that hopefully they could play, but obviously be available to us on social media. So there's lots of stuff we've got in the pipeline. Once COVID's out of the way, we can start ploughing on with it a little bit more. COVID's, you know, been a difficult time for everybody, and from a hockey point of view, massively frustrating. But I think it has allowed us at least an opportunity to step back and just have a bit of a think about it. Because I think when you're in the middle of it, particularly during the season, you know, it's very much about, you know, what's next. You know, got a training session coming up next weekend, or league games or tournaments. You know, it's a bit of a treadmill sometimes. And I think we have had a bit of an opportunity to just stand back from this and just think to ourselves, you know, what's our target? Yeah. You know, when I started to look at the numbers, I thought to myself, 150 sounds bonkers, but actually, when you break it down a little bit, it's like it's not that out of this world to do it. And then when you start to write down all the ideas, you think we've got loads we can be doing here, and we're hardly scratching the surface at the moment with the sort of what we're doing. And we're doing well at the moment from a point of view of how well our teams are doing, and we're also keeping our heads above water with the amount of players. But as I say, we're ambitious and we want to build it, and I think we've got loads that we can do. And, you know, just make the club bigger and a bit more vibrant. And I think, you know, we started the junior setup in 2012, so 10 years next year. And, you know, we did it because we just felt that it was the right thing to start trying to do. And it was quite slow progress for a number of years. And I think it took us a while to sort of really start throwing a bit more effort at it. And I think also, you know, when the Steelers set up their junior club, and they got big very quickly, and not too soon afterwards they got good, and I think that pushed us a little bit, and I think from that point of view, a bit of healthy rivalry was good, and we decided that if we're going to do this, we need to start being a bit more serious about it, and we started to expand the amount of times for the sessions, for example. I think that was a massive thing, and I think that's said to the people within the junior section. They're taking this seriously now, and I think that's what it's kind of another step, and it's like people will turn around and think they're not mucking about.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good, passionate people involved in the club. So we bring the people in there, and we've got the guys there from the coaches to the managers. Everybody's got a genuine passion, as you say. We're all volunteers, so it's not like we're doing it for a job. We do it because we love doing it.
Yeah.
So I know that's how I feel about it. I love it. It's great. It obviously helps that I've got Cade playing as well, so it's great to see him, but to be able to coach him and everything as well, it's brilliant. It's and we've everybody that's involved has got involved because they want to, not because of any other reason. So I think
that's right, Chris, and I think it brings, I'd say the Wolves have obviously been going for a long time, and we've had the juniors like for the last 9 years. It brings such a different dimension to the club, and I can. When we first started out the juniors, it was a long time before we actually broke even, but there was not one single member of the adult team ever said anything about, are we basically funding this? Which, the adults propped up the juniors for quite a long time, and nobody ever once thought that was a bad idea. They knew it was the right thing to do, and it took a while to come together, really. But when you have a look at some of the players that have come through the juniors and into the adults, it's a no-brainer. If we want to be a big adult team, then we need the juniors. And what's more, if we want to be an even bigger adult club, we need even bigger juniors. It's just, me and Chris can't carry on playing forever. I mean, Chris is like the Bayern.
I can barely play anyway, so let alone forever. I'll be happy with playing one more game.
Yeah, so it's a real lifeblood thing, really, for the club. Without it, then we talked about the scenario where maybe you're a 15 or 20 group of mates and you have that team forever as a group of adults, but the likelihood is that's difficult to hold together. With the juniors and a pipeline of talent that we've got coming through, there's such a ready supply, and I'd like us to get to the point where each year there's 12 to 15 players coming out of the juniors, like a ready-made team. Ready to be tacked on, and they may not play for the Wolves, they may go elsewhere, but it's 12 to 15 more ball hockey players entering into hopefully playing for the rest of their adult line.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty clear over the last few years, but when you are coming out of the juniors, there are the opportunities to play in the seniors almost straight away. And then there's the benefit at the same time, people like Haddon and Aiden that have played together since they were 9 or 10 or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They're able to slot in probably at a higher level than they would be individually, especially at first, because they've got that experience.
Yeah, some of these lads have now been playing hockey together for, as you say, a considerable amount of time. But you look at you and Finn. You and Finn now.
10 years.
And he played ice hockey before. I mean, you are never going to shake him off, are you? You'll be looking after him for the rest of your life, Ben. But it's that kind of thing. And you can put an adult team together with newbies, but it's really difficult to come into the game as an adult and recreate what we're producing out of the junior system, to be honest. It's playing against young players, I can tell you right now, is irritating. It is really irritating. And it's for the reason that we've got talent. It's not just that they're fast, it's that they're talented as well. We've got more people to come. You look at somebody, you mentioned Ryan Cam earlier. You look at somebody like Corey Duros, and there are plenty more around him. These are players who people are going to know about soon enough. If you don't know junior hockey, you just play adult hockey, people are going to know about them. soon enough.
We've sort of spoken about it there anyway, but how would you summarise where you'd like to see the Huskies in, say, 5 years' time, aside from just the numbers?
I think you can say the word success, can't you? But I think success, like, it's not just about, you know, winning stuff. I think you want the kids to enjoy it, and you want them to come back again for more. So I think really you can talk about the numbers, and it can be quite a boring, you know, target, but actually it's a real sign that you are growing. If you can build the numbers like that, you know that you're doing something. So I think that growth overall is a signal that actually kids are coming along and they're enjoying it. Because at the end of the day, we just want them to enjoy it. You know, kids hockey, and it gets a bit more serious the older they get in the juniors, but you just want them to enjoy it. You know, if they enjoy it, they'll come back, and hopefully they'll be adult members of the club. That's where I want them to be. I want it to be bigger, because, you know, I think that's a signal of that they're enjoying it. But I'd also, you know, I'd like them to see them all being in our own venue as well. I think that'd be that's one thing that, you know, we've wanted for quite a long time.
Echo what Rob's just said. It's you know, we just want to see it build year on year, and get more kids involved in it, because it is a great sport. You know, we love it. It's, you know, it's a great team sport. Everybody, you know, you build this camaraderie with everybody, and genuinely, you know, people get on with each other. You know, you don't see many people that don't get on with the rest of the team. It's such a good team sport, and everything. So it's good to see, and to see from a coach's point of view, if you can see a kid come in at sort of 7-8 years old, and then progress right the way through, and then pull on a GB shirt as you've done yourself, from a coach's point of view, you know, that makes you feel good. It's good to see that, you know, that a kid that you've coached and everything has made it to the top of the sport, you know, to represent the country. As a sportsman, I think that's one of the pinnacles of a career, is to go out and represent your country. It's one thing playing for your club, but to be picked out to represent your actual country, it's a massive thing. And you know, it'd be great if every single player that you brought through there got to do that. You know, it's not likely to happen, but, you know, the more players that you can get and get them into that squad, it's just, you know, it's good. It's good to see.
I think, you know, I just echo what Chris said there. I think it's, you know, it's just really rewarding to see players come through and do well. I think for young players as well, sometimes you can make friends playing sport that will, you know, friendships that last a lifetime. I had a text today from somebody. I'm going to read it out. I'm not going to say who it's from. It starts off, "Hello, my darlings. We've known each other 34 years this year, you know, and this is a group of lads that we started playing hockey together when we were 16. I'm giving away my age now, aren't I, if people can do the maths. You know, and whilst I don't play hockey with them now, you know, I still look back on those times with such, you know, I'm filling up now. You know, with such pride, and some of the best days of my life, you know.
I'm surprised you can remember them. They're that long ago.
No, well, only because you've written it down for me, Chris. You know, it's you can meet people and form bonds, you know, and that comradeship. You go through things as a team, and I'm not suggesting, you know, this is life and death stuff that happens in the real world, but, you know, you can make friends that you've got for the rest of your life, like I did, you know. And I still, whilst, you know, I'm a passionate member of the Nottingham Wolves, that team I was with back then, I still think of myself sometimes as a member of that team, you know. So I think it's an opportunity for kids in all sport, you know, not just ours, but, you know, I think there's some great friendships in our club that have been forged over a long time, and some of that, you know, comes out of the juniors. I think it's just a really important thing for a lot of people.
So that's the last of the questions for this evening, unless there's anything you two want to ask.
I don't think so, Ben. Come give it a try if you've stumbled onto this interview and you've been thinking about it. Adults as well, you know, if you want to start playing ball hockey, come and play for us, or find the the club closest to you. It is an amazing sport, and and as you found, Ben, it can take you around the world.
Yeah.
If you stick to it, you can go and play hockey in places that you thought maybe you'd never get to play in.
Yeah,
definitely. And any parents obviously that want to bring their kids down, first session's free, so you can come down. You've got nothing to lose. We can lend the kit out. Yeah. Literally turn up, give it a go, and see how you go from there. See what you think. Like I say, Rob, just give it a go. You never know until you try it.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So thanks very much to everyone who's tuned in to this episode of Introducing the Wolves. Thank you, Chris and Rob, for joining me tonight. If you'd like to stay up to date with all of the latest Wolves, Huskies and Raptors news, as well as Matt Bradbury's work, then just follow the links in the video's description. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers.